Hey everyone, this is Obed Ventura with Action Network. We're going to be getting started in just a couple minutes. We want to give some time for folks who are a little late to hop on the call. In the meantime, if you could introduce yourself in the chat box with your name, organization, and how long you've been on Action Network. Thank you. Hi everyone, we're going to be getting started now. Thank you to those who responded in the chat. So for the purposes of this training, everyone is going to be muted, and that's just so that there's not as much background noise. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and we'll be stopping periodically to answer them for you. So this is a training on how to use the call campaigns tool which is a new part of our larger mobile messaging tool. We'll only be covering call campaigns today. We have a separate mobile messaging training next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And we have weekly demos every Wednesday at 2 p.m. if you want to walk through of every feature of the tool. So let's get started. We'll do a quick overview of how this training will go. This will be about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'll introduce myself and my colleague, Seth. Then we'll do a quick poll to gauge your familiarity with the tool in general. After this, we'll discuss a bit more about what call campaigns are and go over the scenario we'll be using for today. After this, we'll jump into the training and finish off by answering any lingering questions that folks have. So I'll start off by telling you a bit about myself. I'm Obed Ventura, the Partnership and Supports Coordinator here at Action Network. And I became an organizer in college. I worked on several union contract renegotiation campaigns, as well as a USAS campaign to get our university to cut its contract with Nike over labor rights violations. And now I work at Action Network. I've probably talked to a bunch of you on support, and I host trainings like this to help folks on the ground doing really important organizing accomplish their work. Seth, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, real quickly. Hi, everyone. My name is Seth. I work on the Action Builder toolset. I also help to coordinate Action Network trainings. Happy to be here. I will just be fielding questions in the chat box as they come up. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for that. So now let's do a quick poll. And it'd be useful for us to just know your familiarity with mobile messaging and call campaigns as a whole. So do you feel that you are a mobile messaging beginner, intermediate, or expert? You can drop your responses in the chat.
I'm seeing quite a few beginners, some intermediates, but it looks like beginner is leading the pack.
Yeah, this is a new tool, so that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for those responses. So call campaigns are part of our larger mobile messaging tool, and we partnered with Twilio to bring this tool to you and make it accessible to organizations of all sizes. And you do need to have a mobile messaging subscription to do call campaigns. To set it up, you'll have two feeds, one on Twilio and the other on Action Network. The setup is pretty easy. On the Action Network end, you just submit a payment, we get permissions up. Bada bing, bada boom, you're done. On Twilio, you can go to the Settings tab in your Group Manage page, scroll down to the mobile messaging section, and you'll be able to create an account. Then just follow the steps to set everything up, leave your numbers, and copy the necessary info from Twilio and Action Network, then you're done. If you want a more in-depth explanation on how the setup process works, join us for our mobile messaging demos every Wednesdays at 2 p.m. So, what are call campaigns? Call campaigns are actions that your activists take that prompt them to call a specific target. Action Network has built-in targets that you can select for your call campaign. So you can target members of the US Congress, governors, and state legislatures. And additionally, you can upload your own custom targets. So this option is really great if you want to direct calls to corporate targets or local elected officials like mayors or city councilors. Once you have your target selected, you provide the activist with the phone number to call, and this will be only one number no matter what district they live in. And when your activists call, they'll hear a recorded message from you and be connected to the target that you set. And an important thing to note is that you do need to have a mobile messaging subscription to do this, and only one number can be used per call campaign at a time. So if you want to run multiple call campaigns, you'll need to lease multiple numbers. Also, these will only really work if you have the full address for an activist. So street, city, zip code, and a mobile number. The reason for this is that if you only have zip code, a lot of times district boundaries cut through a zip code. And so while two activists may live in the same zip code, they'll end up living in different districts. So that's why we need full address info for it to work properly. And later on in this training, I'll show you how you can handle folks who don't have all of this information on file for you. So now let's go through the scenario that we're going to use to frame today's training. And I want you to think about how you've leveraged call campaigns in your work in the past, or if call campaigns are new to you, imagine ways that you might mobilize folks to take action using this. So today's scenario involves people living in the beautiful town of Mill Falls, New Hampshire, USA. And this is a tight-knit community that has come together to form Masks in Mills. And they want to respond to the lack of coordination and assistance with the current health crisis that's impacting their friends and families and neighbors. They've decided to use Action Network to mobilize their town to contact members of the House, and they want to pressure them with as many messages as possible, asking them to support the town's move to mandate masks and push for aid to expand a free mask program across the region. So now that we have this scenario set up, let's jump into the training. If you're an Action Network partner, this interface should look familiar. And if you go to the Start Organizing menu, you'll see the call campaigns action under this actions column. So let's click on this. And one thing that I'd like to highlight is that a call campaign is an action that your activist takes. So this is something that they do, whereas a mobile message is something that you send out. And we talk in more depth on mobile messages in the demo and in the training next week. So I'll add an administrative title, and I'll call this masks for mail. Next, we will choose our target list. And you can pick from one or more target lists that we have built in. For the purposes of this training, we are going to select the House of Representatives because we are trying to target our reps. And if you do want to do custom targets, you'll upload a custom target list and you'll be able to select it here, just like you would for a letter campaign. Now let's select our targets from this list. I'll go down here and click Select Targets. And there are a bunch of different ways you can add targets. You can do Add All. And if you do this, every single member of the House of Representatives will be listed as a target. And you can clear it by clicking Clear All. You can also select target based on what party they're in. So you can target only Democrats, only Republicans, or others. And you can also target people by state. And this is what I'm going to use for today. My town is located in New Hampshire, so I'm going to target reps that are in New Hampshire. I'll click Add States, and there they are. Then I'll click All Done once our targets are set, and the number of targets that I have will appear down there. Next, I'll select the phone number that I'm going to be using. And I'll select this one. Again, just to reiterate, you can only use the same number, or you can't use the same number on multiple call campaigns. So if this were my second or third call campaign that I'm running at the same time, I will need to have more numbers to be able to do this. Below this is an audio message. It's a place where you can upload an audio message for your activists to listen to. This is something short, and it just explains the purpose of the call. You can give prompts to your activists, give them ideas to mention once they're connected with their lawmaker. So we have a recording that we're going to upload here. And that recording is what activists will listen to before they get connected. As always, you'll want to make sure that this action is being sponsored by the correct group. And it looks like it is. Then I'll click Save and Publish to make this action live. One important thing that I would like to point out here is that unlike all the other actions that you create, there is no public-facing URL for this. Because it is a call campaign and people have a specific number they should call to take action, there isn't going to be a public-facing URL. So all you'll see is a manage page, and that's where we're at right now. I'll pause here and answer any questions folks have about creating the call campaign.
Folks have questions? I'm in the chat.
So if there aren't any other questions, we'll keep moving. Like I said, this is your Action Advantage page. And here you're able to view a bunch of stuff. In the Stats tab, you can view the number of people who have taken action over time. And at the bottom of the page, you'll be able to see the number of targets that have been called, the total number of calls that have been made, as well as stats on call time and the average call time. So you'll be able to see how long people spent talking to their representative. In the target report section, you can view how many people have targeted specific targets, or how many people, excuse me, have called specific targets. And you'll be able to pull reports on that from here. And then we come to the responses tab. And I want to sit here for a moment. Like I mentioned, phone numbers and addresses are necessary for call campaigns to work properly, which means that you must have this data on file for your activist in order for this to work. But what happens if your activist doesn't have that data on file? I'm glad you asked. You can set up an auto response message to be sent when that activist places the call. So instead of being connected, they'll receive this message. And in this message, you can include a form that specifically asks for their mobile number and address. So they'll be able to fill it out. And once they fill it out, they'll then be able to make the call. So the way this would work is, let's say I don't have my address on file. I call the number. I'll immediately receive this text message with a link to a form where I can provide that address information. I'll fill out that form, and then I'll call the number again. And now that I do have my address information on file, I'll be able to listen to your audio message and talk to my representative. Below this, you can also set up an auto response message to be sent to people after they make the call. And this could just be a simple thank you, or you can ask them to forward it to friends so that they can take action as well. At the bottom, you can also enable notifications to be sent whenever someone makes a call. And then the next steps tab is just there for tips from us on what to do once your campaign is over, or just general tips as the campaign is taking place. Now, to send this out to your list, we will want to copy this number. So I'll copy that right now. And let's take a quick look at how we can send this out to our list. So I'll go to the Start Organizing menu. And for today, we'll send it out through an email, but the exact same rules apply for mobile messaging as well. First, I'll enter a subject line. And this is just something short that gets your activist's attention. And we're going to demand that Congress support free masks for all. And you'll enter your from line. This should just be your organization's name, your name, someone on the list who people would recognize. And then we'll enter a reply to. Below this, I'll enter the body of my email. And because it's just a training, we'll just keep this short and sweet. Obviously, if you're sending out a real email to your list, you'll want to explain in more detail, use images, be a little more creative than I'm being here. So I'll just say, please call your representative here. And then I'll paste that number for my call campaign. I want to take a second right now to take a look at the clips that you can use for call campaigns. So with clips, you can insert the district people are in. You can put a specific call ask for them. And you can also mention the phone number that is going to take place. Now, like I mentioned, there is no public-facing URL for call campaigns. So instead of using the public-facing URL, you're just going to insert the action manage page for that action, and it will spit out the number if you don't want to copy it like I did up there. Then you can send yourself a test as always. And if you're doing a mobile message, you'll be able to send yourself a test to your mobile device. Then we'll click Save and Target to target this email. You'll want to make sure that you're sending to the correct group as always. And for this in particular, I'm going to look at this letter/call campaign targets. This is a new targeting field that we recently added, and it allows you to target only people who live in the districts that you're targeting. So I can select the call campaign there. And just a reminder, this call campaign is going to representatives in New Hampshire. So only people on my list who live in New Hampshire are going to receive this, email. And you can do this for anything. So let's say you want to do a call campaign targeting members of the Armed Services Committee, for example. A lot of those people come from a bunch of different states, a bunch of different districts. And instead of trying to figure out the targeting for that, building unique queries, you can just select the call campaign from here, and it will automatically send it out to people who live in those people's districts. Then, as always, there's the engagement-based targeting that you should do. You should always be targeting folks who are actually engaging with you. So with these action, email open, email click, and mobile click activity fields, you can target people who clicked at least 2 emails in the last 30 days. And this is great because if people are actually clicking and opening and doing things pretty recently, that means they are more likely to take action right now. And then we are going to save, preview, and send this action out. And the next page is just going to calculate the number of people this is going to. And you can schedule this for any point in the future or send it out right away. And when you send it out right away, you'll be taken to the email manage page where you'll be able to see all the important stats on it. So this is how you create call campaigns. These can be used for a bunch of different things. I personally find that they're very useful for things like rapid mobilization. So let's say Congress is about to vote on a very important bill on funding for schools or for PPE, for example, and you want people to get active, send things on your list, make calls. This is a really easy way to do it. You don't need to fumble with a bunch of different numbers. You don't need to make sure that people, you don't really need to play around with clips if you don't want to. You just have one number that everyone calls no matter where they live, and they'll be matched to the right target as long as they have that address in there. This brings us to the end of today's training. Let's answer some folks' questions if you have any. And yeah, just a bit more info on pricing for mobile messaging. Call campaigns come with mobile messaging. It starts at $50 a month on the Action Network side, and that lets you send up to 5,000 messages. And you'll get charged $10 per additional 1,000 messages you send. There will also be an additional fee on Twilio, like I mentioned, and you will be charged for the number of calls people make and the length of those calls. So that's an important thing to keep in mind when thinking about pricing and budgeting for something like this. If there aren't any other questions, then we'll end this training now. Thank you all for joining us. If you do think of any other questions or you want to hop on the tool, reach out to that join@actionnetwork.org email. And I see someone did drop a question about Twilio. So we partnered with Twilio to create the mobile messaging tool. It's what makes it much cheaper than most tools that are out there. And with Twilio, you will have a fee from them as well as a free fee from us. Twilio are the people who actually send out the messages. You leave numbers from them. things like that. And they do have an additional cost based off the types of numbers you get and the amount of messages or calls that get made with your numbers. And if you want more information on that Twilio connection, you should join us for our mobile messaging demo that is every Wednesday every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And Seth, could you drop that link for that demo in the chat, please?
Sure thing. Okay, yeah.
And so Twilio is different in that they aren't the actual tool that you're using. We partnered with them to provide the numbers and to send things out. But in terms of where you're going to be writing the messages, replying to people, where you're going to be creating the call campaigns and the actions, that's all within Action Network. So mobile messaging is our own texting and calling tool. And you can use that link that Seth dropped in to sign up for the mobile messaging demos. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Again, reach out to that join@actionnetwork.org email if you have any other questions. And I'm glad you could join us. See ya.